Well, recently with the wheat crop, all we've been talking about is the drought situation. But it's also the time of year we should be looking at diseases. And here to help us address that topic is Bob Hunger, our extension wheat pathologist. Bob, how is the drought affecting the disease situation this year?
Well, the drought certainly is affecting the diseases in wheat that we're seeing this year. Most people see the effects on wheat, of course, but don't realize how critical that moisture is to the spread and infection of different pathogens in wheat. And because of the lack of moisture, we have a few diseases around, but not very many of them.
Okay, so that's, I guess, kind of a small blessing in its own way.
Yeah, a very small one though, because without the moisture to have a good wheat crop, you're not
right.
We can do some other things for the diseases, but you have to have the moisture.
Have you got a few examples of things that we are seeing this year we can take a look at?
Yeah, of course, in previous sun-ups, I think Dr. Jeff Edwards has talked about barley yellow dwarf, and you can see some of that out in the field quite a few places. A lot of that came from aphids that were infecting last fall, but in a few places around Stillwater, we have seen some of the diseases that are a bit more typical. And one of those is powdery mildew.
All right.
And this was a variety that was planted real early. And if you look down into here, into the canopy, you can see on some of these lower leaves the furry white growth that's just covering some of these leaves. And this is a disease called powdery mildew. It's caused by a fungus that usually starts pretty early in the season on those lower leaves and then spreads up as the season progresses.
Now, is this one that'll kill the crop off, or what effect does it have on the wheat?
Well, in Oklahoma, when there's plenty of moisture and the plants are growing and rather healthy, it will have some effect on them, but not as severe as we're seeing this year, because between the drought and a little bit of barley yellow dwarf in there and then the powdery mildew, you do get some spots like this that are dying out, probably from a combination of all of those. If you look closely down in here, you can see where the powdery mildew was growing on the leaves. And that certainly is adding to these little dead spots that we're seeing around here.
Now over here we have some leaf rust.
Yeah, and then of course leaf rust. Leaf rust is the disease that typically this time of year we would very much be looking for in the fields, because it does certainly require free moisture on the leaves, which we haven't had much of. But in this plot here, a variety that is quite susceptible to leaf rust, you can see on some of these leaves there are a lot of rust pustules that have formed on the leaf. The thing is, these kind of spots of leaf rust will then tend to spread leaf rust not only within this but in adjoining wheat and adjoining wheat fields. But there's just not very many of these spots of leaf rust around now because it has been so dry.
Now I know this year a lot of producers aren't going to be too worried about this with the shape the crop's in already, but if a producer does want to treat, do we have anything to help them sort out the options?
Oh yeah, certainly if they did choose to grow a susceptible variety, which there are several of those out there, fungicides would be what they would be looking at now. And through the Extension Service, there's a very good publication. It's Current Report, CR 7668, which talks about fungicides, how to apply them, the options, which ones are available, so on and so forth. And currently the prices for fungicides are down considerably over most years, but unfortunately this year it doesn't look like there's going to be the disease pressure, and I say unfortunately because that often means then that we're in a drought situation. So the use of a fungicide this year would have to be looked at rather closely.
Right, in order to justify it economically.
Correct.
All right. If you'd like a copy of that publication, you'll find it on the SunUp website under our links tab at sunup.okstate.edu.